Today I'm going to be tackling another 5-year rebuild. As you can tell from the title of the video, this one will be for the Las Vegas Raiders. My standard rule is that I have 5 years to win a Super Bowl. Obviously, one of the key offensive pieces we have is quarterback Derek Carr, who is going into his 9th year. He is an 84 overall, and now he has wide receiver Davante Adams, who comes in as a 99 overall X Factor, and on the other side, he has an 85 overall Hunter Renfrow with a star depth trait, and a 91 X Factor Darren Waller. So Carr has the pieces to succeed here really quickly. The offensive line is definitely something I'm going to have to improve here. Obviously, in real life, the Raiders cut Alex Leatherwood. I don't have the current updated rosters from EA yet, even though we are like 2 days away from kickoff of the regular season, but it's whatever. Here is the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, we have an X Factor in Chandler Jones, and then past that, our defense is solid but not great. We have Max Crosby. The D-line is pretty bad. Nichols is a 77 overall star dev trait, but our best corner is an 81 Trayvon Mullen and an 80 overall Rock Ya-Sin, and then our safeties are not great. So I think this team still needs a little bit of improvement, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but on offense, we should be pretty well set right now, minus the O-line. Here will be the schemes and playbooks I am running in this video. These seem to be the best one for simulation in Madden 23, considering this game still relies so heavily on what playbook you're using and what scheme you're running, even though it should, to me, rely more on what players you have. But with all that out of the way, let's simulate Season 1 and see where we land. Alright, we apparently were not a very good team. We went 4-13. We were the 24th offense in points per game and the 30th defense in points per game. So some major stuff is going to need to change here. Derek Carr throws for almost 4,600 yards, 28 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. On the ground, Josh Jacobs ran for 16 touchdowns. What about receiving? Hunter Renfrow, 95 catches, almost 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns. Davante Adams, 92 for 1,209 touchdowns. What about on the defensive side of the ball? Leading the team in tackles was defensive back Rock Ya-Sin. That is not great. What about sacks? That goes to Max Crosby, who got 13, and interceptions. Jonathan Abram got 2, and Rock Ya-Sin got 2. And Super Bowl 57 goes to the Los Angeles Chargers as they defeat the Philadelphia Eagles 51-20. This re-signing period has a lot of these defensive players leaving. Denzel Perryman, Trayvon Mullen, and Rock Ya-Sin will all be hitting the market. I did bring back Josh Jacobs. As much as I don't like paying running backs, he did get 16 touchdowns last season. And here are the 5 offers I am throwing out here in this first part of free agency. I'm trying to get Sean Murphy-Bunting. I know he's not a scheme fit, but he is one of the best corners available that's actually interested in signing with us. DJ Chark to come in and be our slot receiver. Logan Ryan is also a scheme fit. I'm trying to bring him in just to replace Jonathan Abram. Then we have David Edwards to come in and be our left guard, and then Cody Ford to be our right guard. I know Ford is not a scheme fit, but he's better than what we have. And we landed Sean Murphy-Bunting, DJ Chark, and David Edwards, so the only ones we're waiting on is Logan Ryan and Cody Ford, who now has the Eagles trying to get him. And here in stage 2, here are the next 5. Yannick Ngakoue, Logan Ryan, Jordan Phillips, Cody Ford, and Brandon Parker. Hopefully we can land all 5 of these guys. We'll advance to the next stage. They're all gone. Did we get everyone? We got Yannick Ngakoue, we got Logan Ryan, we got Jordan Phillips, we got Cody Ford, and we got Brandon Parker. So I think I landed everyone that I wanted to get. And we're now here at the first draft in this video, so let's see who the Texans take with the number 1 pick. They take right in Sam Jones out of Indiana, and the Seahawks will take Hudson Hunt, a quarterback out of Syracuse. And with our 3rd overall pick, I'm going to take left tackle Johnny Mooney. It might be a pretty boring pick, but I think he's the best lineman left on the board. We need a right tackle. He plays left, but we can move him over to the other side, and he does come in with a hidden depth trait. And this defensive tackle is not a scheme fit, but here in the 2nd round, I'm going to take defensive tackle Ed Pointer out of Oregon. I think he's one of the best players left, and he has also a hidden depth trait. And then here in the 3rd round, I'm going to take center Craig Bridge out of Miami. This will be the last pick that I make. If you've never watched any of my rebuilds before, the way I do it is I draft the first 3 rounds, and then I let the computer draft the last few. So we will take Craig Bridge, and he will come in also with a hidden depth trait. And let's take a look at this draft class. I feel like I did pretty good. We got a 74 overall left tackle, a 77 overall defensive tackle in the 2nd round, a 72 overall center, and then they took a 65 tight end, a 73 left guard in the 5th round. Does he come in with a hidden depth trait? He sure does. All right, so the CPU did a pretty decent job in that round. A 69 overall wide receiver, and then a 68 overall outside linebacker. And I officially moved left tackle Johnny Mooney, the guy we took in the 1st round, over to right tackle, so he will be our starting tackle on the other side. Here is the starting offense headed into Season 2. Derek Carr has a pretty much entirely new O-line. 3 of them are rookies with hidden depth traits. It looks like the CPU also took a receiver with a hidden depth trait late in the draft, and then he saw Davante Adams, Hunter Renfrow, who is now a superstar depth trait, and Darren Waller. Over on defense, obviously Pointer will start at defensive tackle over Jordan Phillips because he is a hidden depth trait. Our secondary is not terrific. Trayvon Moehrig, I think is how you say his name, he is an 82 overall star depth trait. Logan Ryan's a 79 overall, and our second best corner is a 78. Not great, but that can be our priority in the next offseason maybe. And then Jayon Brown is our starting middle linebacker, but the outside linebackers look pretty solid. So now let's see if we got any better. We really can't go much farther down than 4 and 13, so let's jump to the end of the year. Well, we got a little better this year. We went 7 and 10, but we still missed the playoffs. This time we were the 13th ranked offensive points per game and the 18th ranked defense. Derek Carr did have one hell of a year though. 5,000 yards, 42 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Running the ball, Josh Jacobs had 13 touchdowns and almost 1,300 yards. And receiving, Hunter Renfrow, 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns. Davante Adams, 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns. DJ Chark had over 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. And Darren Waller, 800 yards and 3 touchdowns. What about defense? How do we do on that side? Jayon Brown with 135 tackles. All right, that's pretty good. In sacks, Chandler Jones got 12. Max Crosby didn't really get much. He only got 4.5. And interceptions, Logan Ryan got 3. And Super Bowl 58 goes to the Dallas Cowboys, taking down Joe Burrow and the Bengals 35-24. And this re-signing period is going to hurt a little bit. We only have $23 million in cap space, and Darren Waller and Bilal Nichols are both up for contracts. Neither one of them have much interest in re-signing, so we're going to let them test free agency. We may try to bring back Logan Ryan here. Jordan Phillips is also a possibility, but we do not have a ton of cap space to work with this offseason. And I do have a plan here. I've traded our first round pick, our second round pick, and a second for next year in order to get the number 1 pick in the draft from Detroit. I tried to trade them Derek Carr, but apparently that would put them over the cap, and I could not find a deal that would work, so this is the trade I had to do. But I was able to make this trade. I am sending Derek Carr to the Jets for a first round pick this year and a third round pick this year. The reason I decided to trade Derek Carr is he was starting to regress a little bit. He started the series as like an 83 or an 84. He was down to an 81. We clearly were not winning games with him, even though he put up really good stats last year. So what I've decided to do is trade him, and we will draft a quarterback with the number 1 pick. And I've offered 4 contracts here in this first stage of free agency. We're going to try to land Nick Bosa, who is a 99 overall scheme fit. Jalen Johnson, Chuck Clark, and Jordan Phillips all need to get added to this team. Let's see if we get any of them. And it looks like the only one to not sign was Nick Bosa. It looks like we got the other 3. And Bosa's the only one I'm left waiting on, so we're going to skip right to stage 3 of this, or eval offer 3. And Nick Bosa has signed with the Las Vegas Raiders, so that should really help our defense out. And like I showed, we traded up with the Lions to get the number 1 pick in the draft. I already know what player I want to take. He is the number 1 quarterback on the board. He is a scheme fit. We are going to take quarterback Josh Burbank out of Eastern Washington, and he should come in with a hidden depth trait, 93 throw power. He should be really, really good for us. And with the 7th overall pick, we're going to take left end Chris McMahon out of Notre Dame, because that is also a position of need. He's actually only a normal depth trait. That kind of surprises me. And with the first pick here in the 3rd round, I'm going to take defensive back Nigel Reeves out of Penn State. I thought he had some pretty good ratings. He will come in with a normal depth trait as well. So the last draft we get like all hidden depth traits. This time we are not getting that lucky. And now with the 7th pick here in the 3rd round, we have 1 pick after this. We actually pick at 7 and 8 in the 3rd. I'm going to take defensive tackle Anthony Wilds. He is not a scheme fit, but I like his ratings, and he was the strongest defensive tackle in his class, so we will take him. Once again, a normal depth trait, but he does come in with 97 strength. And as of right now, we only have 1 center on the roster, so I'm going to take center Elijah Giles out of LSU, and he will come in with a hidden depth trait. And the quarterback we took with the number 1 pick, Josh Burbank, comes in as a 74 overall with a hidden depth trait. He is a scheme fit, but we've got now 3 seasons to win a Super Bowl, so hopefully he progresses pretty quickly. With the rest of the class, we took a 74 overall left end, a 68 overall corner, a 73 overall defensive tackle, a 73 overall center, and then a 65 left tackle and a 68 strong safety. And here's the offense for Season 3. Obviously, we're rolling with first overall pick Josh Burbank at quarterback. He's a 74 overall hidden depth trait. He has some pretty solid receivers, though. A 98 overall Davante Adams, an 89 Hunter Renfrow, and an 82 DJ Chark. His offensive line is looking pretty solid to me, but the only question is at tight end with a 68 overall Brit. On the defensive side of the ball, the secondary is finally at least all 80s that start the game. So Johnson, Murphy, Bunting, Clark, and Moehrig all are at least 80 overall. We obviously added the big addition of Nick Bosa at left end, Yannick Ngakoue as the other end. We probably need to get one more defensive tackle, and our middle linebacker is now up to an 80 overall, and Chandler Jones is rapidly declining down to an 82. In the first season, we went 4-13. In the second season, we went 7-10. If we continue on that trend, we should go 10-7 this year, but we are now starting a rookie quarterback, so let's jump to the end of the year and see how he does. Alright, we definitely improved. We go from 7-10 one season to 15-2 the next, with the #1 offense in points per game and the #1 defense in points per game. Josh Burbank in his rookie year throws for almost 5,300 yards, 45 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Running the ball, Josh Jacobs had almost 1,600 yards and 20 touchdowns. What about receiving? Davante Adams, 113 catches, almost 1,500 yards, and 17 touchdowns. Hunter Renfrow got 13 touchdowns and 1,200 yards. No one really did much past those two, but damn, we had a really good offense. What about defense? How did we do? Jayon Brown, 110 tackles, leads the team. Nick Bosa got 29 sacks. Okay, Max Crosby got 10 and interceptions. Jalen Johnson got 6. And believe it or not, Burbank did not lead the league in passing yards. He actually finished 5th behind Prescott, Gardner Minshew, Mac Jones, Desmond Ridder, and then finally we got Josh Burbank. Josh Jacobs did lead the league in rushing touchdowns though with 20, well at least he tied with Damian Harris. And not really a shock, with 29 sacks, Nick Bosa leads the league. And our first playoff game will be against the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round, so let's see if we can win a playoff game here in Season 3. What in the hell happened to this team? They went 15-2, had the #1 offense and defense in points per game, and we lose 31-0 in the divisional round. Did our quarterback just play awful or something? He went 11 for 25, 130, and a pick, and we couldn't do anything on the ground. Alright, well, Season 3 ends in the divisional round. Not only does our season end in the divisional round, the AFC and the NFC Championship are both between the 6 and 7 seeds. And Super Bowl 59 goes to the Houston Texans, 42-28, led by their rookie quarterback, Brock Waddle. We do win Offensive Rookie of the Year, though. And it sucks, but this re-signing period, we are going to lose Hunter Renfrow. I could not get him to re-sign a contract, so we're going to try to get him back in free agency or see if there's anyone better. But past that, Nate Hobbs also refused to re-sign, so we'll have to get a new corner. I'm letting Chandler Jones walk just because he's now down to a 77 overall and really not worth it. And then we have, actually, David Edwards. I want to try to bring you back. You've actually been pretty good for us, so we'll offer this contract. And he would also like to play for a new team. And here are the contracts I am offering in this stage of free agency. We're going to try to bring in Jalen Waddle to replace Hunter Renfrow. Sidney Jones was also available. We're going to try to bring back David Edwards, Brevin Jordan to be our starting tight end, and Brandon Smith to be our current starting right outside linebacker, just because I let Chandler Jones walk. But we're going to try to bring back all of these guys, or bring in all of these guys. And it looks like Waddle and Edwards have not signed, but we do land Sidney Jones, Brevin Jordan, and Brandon Smith. So I had to pull the offer for Jalen Waddle because they were all offering him that $20.4 million a year, and I realistically could not do that if I wanted to sign a couple other positions. So I went ahead and pulled the offer for Waddle, but we have made a couple new offers. And the first contract I've thrown out is middle linebacker Jerome Baker, who is an 83 overall superstar depth trait linebacker. I know he is not a scheme fit, but Jayon Brown is 30 years old, only a 78 overall. He's not really going to progress much further, so we're going to try to fix our middle linebacker situation now. Then we have Darius Slayton, who is an 80 overall scheme fit. I think he should fit our team really nicely. And then David Edwards is still sitting here, so let's see, can we land any of these guys in this round? And the only one not to sign is David Edwards, but we do land Jerome Baker, and we also land Darius Slayton. And I did up David Edwards' offer a little bit, so we are now the top offer for him. And we do land David Edwards, it seems. Yes, we do. Before we jump into this draft, I do want to show you guys that Josh Burbank is an 81 overall superstar depth trait, so I feel like we made a pretty decent pick there. And this time we don't pick until pick 28, so let's see who the 49ers take with the #1 pick in the draft. They take left outside linebacker Brandon Peters out of Michigan. I know we just signed a receiver to replace Hunter Renfrow, but I'm looking at wide receiver Darrell Leach out of North Carolina here. He was the 3rd fastest at the Combine and the 1st fastest at the Pro Day, and I really like all the ratings that we know about him. He doesn't have great short route running, but we're going to go ahead and draft Darrell Leach here, and he will come in with a normal depth rate, but 99 speed. This guy is not a scheme fit, but I'm going to take defensive tackle Tevin Boston here at the end of the 3rd round. We had no 2nd round pick, and Tevin Boston will have a hidden depth trait and 93 strength to start. And I don't feel like this was a horrible draft class. I've definitely had better. Darrell Leach is a 74 overall normal depth trait with 99 speed. Tevin Boston is a 70 overall with a hidden depth trait. And then they took a 66 running back, a 63 safety, a 70 wide receiver, and a 63 overall left tackle. And because I want the receiver I just took in the first round to get some playing time, we're going to trade Merriweather to Philadelphia for a 6th round pick. And we're sending wide receiver DJ Chark to Indianapolis for a 2nd round pick. And after those two trades, here is the offense for Season 4. We have Josh Burbank, an 82 overall superstar dev trait quarterback. Josh Jacobs is now a 95. We still have Davante Adams at a 98. Darius Slayton right now is wide receiver 3 because I want to get Leach some playing time since we did just burn a 1st round pick on him. I don't know how much that 99 speed will factor into simulation, but I'm hoping a lot. The main additions to the defense this time was obviously Tevin Boston in the 3rd round, and we signed Jerome Baker to be our new middle linebacker. So let's hope that this right outside linebacker being a 75 doesn't hurt the defense too bad. Last season we went 15-2 and got bounced in the divisional round 31-0 to Buffalo. So I'm hoping this time we can get back to the playoffs and actually manage to win a playoff game. Well, we don't go 15-2, but we do get into the playoffs. We don't win the division. We go 11-6. Kansas City takes the division at 14-3. We have the number 5 offense in points per game and the number 13 defense. This season, Burbank throws for 5,400 yards, almost 5,500, 46 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Running the ball, Josh Jacobs only had 15 touchdowns this time, not 20. And receiving, Davante Adams had 20 touchdown receptions and 1,700 yards. Darius Slayton, 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Darrell Leach, 979 yards and 7 touchdowns. So our 1st round pick did not play bad. On defense, Jerome Baker led the team in tackles with 135 in sacks. Nick Bosa only got 17.5, could not get 29 this time apparently. And interceptions, Sean Murphy-Bunting got 3. And Davante Adams' 20 touchdown receptions would be enough to lead the league. But now can we finally get a playoff win here in Season 4 of this rebuild? Yes, we can. We get by Indianapolis 42-14. We do have an injury going into the next game though. It looks like Josh Jacobs has a dislocated ankle, so he will miss most likely the rest of the season. And for our next opponent, we get to travel to Foxborough to take on the 8-9 New England Patriots. And we take down the Patriots 44-34, so we are headed to the AFC Championship. And in the AFC Championship, we get to take on the number 7 seed Cincinnati Bengals, as the NFC is between the 1 seed and the 3 seed. But sadly, Season 4 ends in the Conference Championship round 49-42. Well, if we're going to lose, at least we lose to the eventual Super Bowl champions, as the Bengals take down the Packers 35-28 in Super Bowl 60. And before we jump into the last offseason of this rebuild, I do want to show you guys that Josh Burbank is now an 86 overall superstar X Factor. And I was able to bring back any name that I really wanted to. No one refused the contract, so these are all the guys that are walking, and we will have $27 million headed into this last free agency. And I am going to make a trade. If you've ever watched my rebuild, you know I tend to do this going into my last year. I try to trade for one of the better players in the league. We're going to trade for Logan Wilson, who is an 86 overall right outside linebacker who fits our scheme. We're going to give up 2 first round picks and a 4th, but we get our right outside linebacker. And I'm only offering 2 contracts now going into this free agency. Trent McDuffie, who is not a scheme fit, but he's still a pretty solid corner, and Chris Olave, who is a scheme fit wide receiver, and he should be our number 2 receiver this year. And let's see, did they both sign? They both did, so we will just jump to the draft. And with our first pick in this draft, which happens to be in the 2nd round, I'm going to take right guard Alex Coles out of Oklahoma, and he is going to have a normal dev trade. And here with my 2nd pick in the 2nd round at pick 29, I'm looking at strong safety Luke Moulton. I think this is going to be kind of a risky pick because he has C hit power, D man coverage, but A to C tackle and A to C zone. He's also the fastest safety in his class, so we're going to take Luke Moulton, who will have a hidden dev trade. And then here in the end of the 3rd round, I'm going to take left outside linebacker Noah Minshew out of Clemson. He has A tackle, which is what I really liked, and he also is a hidden dev trait. So I got a couple hidden dev trait players, but not a lot of high overalls. The highest overall was a 71 overall Alex Coles in the 2nd round, who has a normal dev trait. Moulton does have a hidden dev trait, but he's a 69 overall for now. Minshew is a 70 overall with a hidden dev trait. And then the CPU took a 69 overall corner, a 66 overall safety, a 64 overall corner, a 70 overall fullback, and a 65 overall left tackle in the 7th. And here is our offense going into our 5th and final season of this rebuild. Burbank is an 87 overall X Factor quarterback. Davante Adams is still an X Factor with a 97 overall. Chris Olave is an 86 with a a star dev trait. Josh Jacobs is a 97 with a superstar. On defense, obviously the weak point here is our 2nd defensive tackle, but I think the rest of our D-line pretty well makes up for that. Then we have Logan Wilson, Jerome Baker, and Max Crosby as our linebackers. I feel like that is a really, really solid core. And I feel like our defensive backs are also pretty good. Johnson is a 90 overall, McDuffie's an 89. We don't really have great safeties, but we have a good free safety. We do not have a good strong safety, so I'm hoping that doesn't affect us too much. I was hoping Moulton would be like closer to a 74, 75, but we will roll with Chuck Clark, and we'll see how good Season 5 goes. So this is our 5th and final season. As I have now said multiple times, if we don't win a Super Bowl this year, this rebuild is a failure. And this time we go 12-5. We managed to win the division with that, and we are the 2nd ranked offense in points per game and the 13th ranked defense, but we do get a bye week. Burbank throws for 5,600 yards, 48 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. Running the ball, Josh Jacobs had almost 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns, and receiving, Davante Adams 122 catches, 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns. Chris Olave with 12 touchdowns, Brevin Jordan got 10, Darius Slayton got 5, and our first round pick from a couple years ago only got 1. Logan Wilson led the team in tackles with 166, and Nick Bosa comes back with another 29 sack season. What about interceptions? That goes to Chuck Clark. The only league leaders we have are Logan Wilson led the league in tackles with 166, and then Nick Bosa led the league in sacks with 29. But now in the divisional round, we get to take on the 10-7 Indianapolis Colts. We beat them last year in the playoffs, so they have a chance to get revenge. Does the rebuild end here, or do we continue our playoff run? The rebuild does not end here. We win 31-24, so we advance to the AFC Championship. Well, we got this far last year. Can we get by the AFC Championship round this time and get to a Super Bowl for the first time in this rebuild? And this time we get out of the AFC Championship game 35-17 over the Ravens, so we head to the Super Bowl. And this time the Super Bowl is between the 2 1 seeds of the playoffs, the Falcons and the Raiders. So it's do or die. We either win this game and the rebuild's a success, or we lose this game and the rebuild is a failure. Can we get by Desmond Ridder and the Atlanta Falcons? And in the very last season of this rebuild, we win the Super Bowl 45-31. And I think that is the 3rd time in Madden 23 alone that I've gotten all the way to the final game possible to win a Super Bowl, and we managed to pull it off. Well, that will wrap up this rebuild video. Obviously, I do consider this a success. We won a Super Bowl. Granted, we could not do it with Derek Carr, which kind of sucks, but I think I'm leaving the Raiders here with a pretty good quarterback in Josh Burbank. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time.